Hey guys, we've been out to the range, just having a big time, and my good friend Curtis from the VSO Gun Channel is here with me today, all the way down from Ohio to the great state of South Carolina, where the temperature's hot.
Dude, it actually wasn't that bad today. I was expecting much hotter. I prepared for much hotter. It was actually hotter where we were last week than it is here today, so I was okay with that.
Yeah, actually it is. It's nice today.
We've
had a good day.
Yeah, we got lucky. We got lucky.
But I'll tell you, one of the things that is kind of funny is when I first really got started on YouTube, there was a couple of videos that Curtis had put out that really kind of inspired me to do a lot of things. So I just think it's really cool that we've become friends over the years. And at that time, it was Vigilant Spectre.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So. We've rebranded since then. So if I can, how we got into YouTube. Like, we started out just kind of messing around, right? Everybody was at the time. Anybody who tells you that they knew what YouTube was going to become what it is today is full of crap, right? They didn't know. So we were just kind of like just messing around, trying to put out fun stuff on YouTube. And then, about a year or two into it, we came back and we're like, wow, people are actually watching this crap on purpose. Maybe we got to try a little bit harder.
Right, right, exactly.
So we rebranded, and now we're the VSO Gun Channel. We have a lot of fun. This is my full-time job. This is what I do for a living. I test guns, make videos, living the American dream.
There's a lot of pressure.
Actually, there's more pressure than a lot of people give credit for.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's, a lot of times we make it look easy, on the range, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. But, the big thing is, and I know Curtis feels the same way, is, one of the big things about YouTube to me originally was, that there were a lot of people out there that felt alone. Gun owners, and you kind of felt like, the media kind of puts us in a kind of a box. And one of the big things that really kind of got me started was, saying, hey, you know what, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that think the way you do. They look at self-defense and they look at different firearms and interest.
And you have to think about the political climate at the time. So I started the channel in 2009, right when I got out of school. And I've been doing it strong ever since. But the political climate, if you think back to that point in time, it took me 10 months to get AR-15 parts at that point in time.
Right, right.
Like that's the rush on parts back then was so heavy. The whole thing was a ban culture back then. I mean, everybody who survived the ban culture pretty much understands what we're talking about, but maybe some of the newer guys don't know what it means to wait that long for parts just because they didn't exist. Like, not that many companies were making that sort of stuff at that point in time.
Well, then after Sandy Hook, same thing happened again, except it was probably the worst. I mean, that was a tough time.
Yeah, it really was. And I remember that one that was a really tough one.
One thing that's really important to realize, and I know Curtis will agree with this, is that, we have kind of a gun-friendly administration right now. We've got a, fully Republican, majority with both House and Senate. And so a lot of us have kind of backed off. I think that, and unfortunately now is the time to take on the offense and really support. I know many of you guys know that, YouTube has been kind of not just targeting gun channels. There's been a lot of other, but a lot of it is just the free speech and crafting what their message that they want to portray, and kind of reward those guys when the message they don't really like, they're non-advertiser friendly. And I really appreciate a lot of the support that you guys have given, and I know you've gotten a lot of it. Yeah,
we've been big recipients of people reaching out to us, trying to help us with the shenanigans that YouTube has been pulling. This is my business. This is what I do for a living. I test guns for a living, and I make product videos for a living and stuff like that. And YouTube is part of that. So the shenanigans that YouTube has been pulling has not been friendly to us, to say the least, and we have dealt with a lot of it. But the outpouring of support from the Second Amendment community is just been, it reminds you that you can have faith in your fellow man still.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about. The NRA is pushing back against
The NRA is doing great.
Some of the stuff that Google is pulling, and we're starting to see gains in that area. But the big important thing is we cannot, like you said, sit back and just bask in the freedom glory, so to speak, right? We actually have to be active in trying to push these things through. A really great example is like the whole silencer thing. Everybody who watches my channel knows I'm a big silencer guy. There's no excuse that we haven't gotten something done that's pro-gun with all this, with this new administration, the ushering in of the Republican control. And we really have to pay attention to the people who are not supporting the values that we hold dear.
Right.
And hold their feet to the fire.
Right. That's one thing too is, guys, and I've said this a number of times, but, you need to get behind the NRA. That is a viable force. And they don't always do everything right. But if you can give me an alternative that is just as powerful, then I'll join them too. But I think that, we need to be looking at, especially the NRA. I think it's really the best option right now. Now, one thing that I really wanted to bring up, in fact, it was funny that Curtis and I were talking about this earlier. A lot of times, and it's a minority, but it's people that do pop up in the comments, on a regular basis, either calling us a shield or this is an infomercial or, let me explain a couple of things. Number one, I run into people regularly that buy products that I might recommend. And I was just at the NRA National Carry Guard convention, or I'm down at Going Gear. I'm somewhere where people come up to me, or some of my best friends, they'll come up to me and they'll say, "Hey, I bought this piece of gear." One of the things, and I know Curtis feels the same way, and I'll let him pipe in, but when we talk about something, never gonna hide it or make it look different than it is. It's just too important. When you're talking about a tool that you're going to use possibly for self-defense, and that could include gear or even in a survival situation, we take that's a huge responsibility.
It is a huge responsibility. So the way I look at it, and I've been called every name under the book, it's just part of the job. It just is what it is. So we have to kind of accept that part of it. But I don't know who's on the other end of this camera. Right. Once I uplink that video to the internet and it lives up there, I don't know who's going to watch that. Whether it's just somebody who wants a piece of gear because they like to look at it, right, maybe hang it on their wall. I don't know if that's a piece of gear that some guy over in the sandbox is picking up because he's looking for information on something that maybe broke and he had to replace it with a commercial option or something like that. I don't know, and that's just too important to me to get wrong. So.
Right.
A lot of the time, some of the stuff that I do is fairly positive because I don't review things that I'm not interested in.
Right, exactly.
Right? And I don't even really consider myself a reviewer more than anything else. I'm more of a tester. I come from a science background. I like to test and evaluate things, and most of the time I cede the authority on whether that was a good piece of gear to our audience in the comment sections. I'll let them kind of handle it. I just kind of leave it open-ended. I'm a gear evaluator, gear tester, and if my analysis influences somebody's buying decision, more power to them. But my sort of mission, I suppose, is to give the information and let people make their own judgment call on it.
Well, and a lot of times I think people evaluate a product on their personal preferences. Like my hands are different than your hands.
Yep.
And your experiences are different than my experiences. Some guys have never had any experience. Some have had a lot of experience. And so they're different things. And I know it was funny because Yankee Marshall put out a video recently, which I really appreciated, and talking about the different gun channels and where they fall into. And one was a solid hardcore reviewer, and I think I fell into what they call the presenter, which I bring out a piece of gear and I talk about it and I show it and demonstrate it. But, and then, of course, the shield and all that were out there as well, and other categories. It's a great video, by the way. But one thing, and this is something we were talking about earlier, is, I've been shooting guns for 40 years. So while I may not have a lot of time, into one firearm, I have a lot of time over a lot of firearms. And so, there is a lot that goes in there. It's not like I pick up a piece of gear and go, oh, well, let's talk about it. There's some experience that I've had for a long time to build around that.
And that is true. I've been shooting since I was a little kid, right? I was raised in this, right? But you can look at a piece of equipment, and there are certain things that you can just tell from it right off the bat that your experience will tell you about that thing that is going to be a problem or not. And you can actually cater your testing to that particular maybe shortfall to determine whether that has been actually addressed or not. But for me, for instance, my minimum on any firearm that I review is 1,000 rounds.
Right.
You know that when you watch the video of me that we put out on that gun, if it's here for video, that we put 1,000 rounds through that gun minimum. Right. Now, the exceptions to that rule are things like air rifles and stuff like that. It's not always practical to shoot 1,000 rounds through the air rifles, right?
Right.
Especially because I have to travel to get my tanks filled, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a powder burner gun, I put 1,000 rounds through that gun before you guys see a video on it. And that's just the way that I think that's a viable way to kind of get a baseline of how the gun's going to perform over time. But there are a lot of people out there, I will say, that will shoot 100 rounds through a gun and put out a video on it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just not okay, because again, I don't know who's on the other side of the screen.
Now, one thing that I always try to do, and I highly recommend this, is when you see a gun channel review something, whatever the gun is, whatever the piece of gear is to look at other reviews. I think, Curtis specializes in certain, and you do a lot of different testing stuff. You guys get out there and really, you'll have 4 or 5 guys out there and you are using it and you're going back and forth on it. My way is a little bit different, and I have my way that I do things, and then, Tim from Military Arms, or Eric from Iraq Veteran, or whoever, Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear, just looking at from a different perspective. Of course, nothing fancy. That is a true gear reviewer, and he really goes through the really hardcore of products. But I think it's good to be able to weigh those out, to make a good decision.
Right. And heck, even when I'm completing an analysis, and we talked about this, when I'm completing, testing on a gun, if somebody else that I know, like you or Mike or Tim or, insert, quality content provider here, I will go watch their video to determine, maybe I missed something.
Right.
Just to make sure that, oh, well, maybe that thing that I was having, maybe they had too. Maybe they had a problem with it here or there, or maybe mine was a one-off mistake from a manufacturer or manufacturer defect or something like that, just to see if I can find any analogs in what I've decided is the truth about that particular piece of gear, and what they're saying is the truth about that particular piece of gear. No, I'm not saying that's going to influence what I'm saying.
Right. No, you know what you know, but it's good to, in case you want to miss something. I know, we were talking about this earlier, and it's just, you want to make sure that you give the information, because there are people that will watch maybe one video and then make a decision. Another thing too is, and we'll talk a little bit about this, is if you have a particular gun that you carry, or maybe it's a bedside gun, maybe it's, you conceal carry, maybe it's a car gun. A lot of times if we have multiple guns, sometimes we just take the guns that are new out to the range, especially if you like to collect multiple guns. Now, some of you guys, you have 1 gun or 2 guns, and you shoot just those. But there are a lot of guys that like to collect, like to buy a lot of guns, and a lot of them watch these channels because, we do multiple guns. One thing I think is really important, and just thought this would be a great place to bring it up, is that take the gun that you count on and make sure you train with it. Don't neglect that gun. And I know you definitely, in fact, out here, he was reviewing a shotgun and then pulled out his pistol and finished it out, and it made me think about it. So.
Right now I'm carrying a Glock 19. It's got some modifications to it for like suppressor testing, because it's my 9mm kind of go-to gun, but that's gonna carry every day, right? Glock doesn't pay me to carry their gun or anything like that, but that's the gun I carry, and it came on this trip. It's the gun that I'm using to defend my life and the life of the VSO mud girl over there who does not feel like coming and talking to you guys apparently. She's hanging out in the truck.
I don't blame her.
Yeah.
Can't afford me.
What'd she say?
Can't afford her.
Oh. But, you know, that's, I'm serious about that, right? And I train with that gun. Even though I'm out on the range on a regular basis shooting other guns, it's still very important to me to take that gun out there with me and at least shoot it a couple times each time I go out there, right? And usually if we're doing like a discretionary, where it doesn't really matter what gun we're using for that video, like maybe we're just doing something on like a particular training drill or something like that, usually you're going to see my carry gun out there with me in my carry rig running it, because that's the real world for me.
Right.
You know?
That's smart. One thing that I think is really unique about what we do as far as YouTube gun community is that we typically all get along very well.
I would say that, and I've said this for the longest time. You know, people ask me, "Hey, what do you think about Such?" And I was like, "That's the guy that I'll go smoke a cigar with and have a whiskey with, right?" Like, I don't want to say that we're like a cohesive unit together, the YouTube creator, the gun creator, you know, community thing, but we all communicate to some degree, and we definitely care about each other and what's going on in each other's lives and stuff like that, and we do stay in contact, and we do have fun days like today. Right. So,
I mean, all the way from Ohio to come down here and, you know, smoke a cigar and hit some whiskey.
Yeah, blow through a lot of ammo too.
You know, it was one thing. It was funny. We were shooting the new Fostech Echo 2 trigger, which we probably we didn't put 1,000 rounds through it, but we probably put about 500, and then plus with 300 blackout. Yeah,
we spent an extra little bit of time on that one. You know, I almost fully got the hang of that one. You know, by the end of the time but we put it on several guns. We even put it on my gun, and we ran it hard enough that I was actually able to burn the finish off of my Optimus. Yeah, so we were running the Fostech so hard that we decided to swap it around on a bunch of different uppers, and we threw it on mine. I just happened to have this this Optimus on the end of it there, and as you can see, this is a different color than this. This is originally all the same color. It burned the finish off of the adapter. That's how hot that sucker got. We were running it like a beast, and I tell you what, I've shot a lot of full auto guns before, and we were easily, on some of those strings, outrun an M16 fire rate.
Yeah, I agree.
That thing's where it's at. I've even have a friend that got rid of his M16 because he has an Echo. Now he doesn't need. He's like, I don't need it. They have this thing now, right? So he made like 30 grand, like right there, by selling his M16.
Actually, that was one of the big things I was wanting to do, was to bring the Echo down for us to shoot. You know, it's a lot of fun. In fact, we're getting ready to do a review on it. Whether it was 5.56 or 300 or suppressed, it just didn't matter.
Yeah, it did not seem to matter. It was a lot of fun, and I actually am going to try extra hard to get one now so that I can review one, right? I did talk to the owner of Fostech, and I'm probably going to see him in a few days anyway. So we're going to have to renew that effort, because I think that maybe we might have to make it a staple as far as suppressor testing. You know, can't have a new manufactured full auto gun, but I can have a new manufactured Fostech Echo, which is just as fast.
But
So,
I'll tell you what, guys, though, I'm going to give you a big warning. You better get your pocketbook ready, because the ammunition, you go through a ton of it.
yeah,
So.
we had a stack of magazines, and it took 10 minutes.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
No.
It didn't take long.
It was to the point where we had to switch uppers several times because it got too hot to shoot that fast. So
Right.
yeah.
When we were shooting little pistols anyway.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Oh yeah.
So guys, just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that were going on. I just thought it'd be kind of a different type video, and great to have Curtis down and Muddy Girl as well.
Yeah,
And,
I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, I always wanted to shoot with you. I just never had an opportunity to get down.
We've been talking about it for a long time.
for a long time.
So, so it's good. And then, of course, we'll be at the Iraq Veteran 88888 event. 888888. 4/8s.
Yeah.
We'll be down there next weekend and hanging out with a lot of guys, a lot of cool guys, and really looking forward to it. So, guys, thanks for all you do, and thanks for the support, watching, and you know, commenting, liking the videos, and just remember that you're not alone out there. that you have a community and we're joining together. And again, I want to thank Curtis for coming down. Check out the VSO gun channel. Of course, I have it linked down below and annotated right up here in the screen. And it was just a lot of fun.
It really was. I appreciate you having us out, buddy. Always a pleasure. And be looking out for our coverage of what we did here today too, because we're gonna cut one as well.
Yes, we are.
We got
Yes,
some
we
good
are.
shots of Sue shooting some stuff. So
And then after that, we're going to go to dinner.
yeah, I need something to eat. Right now.
We skipped lunch today just to have fun.
For you guys,
Yeah.
right?
No, because we couldn't quit pulling the trigger.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Now, one thing I want to touch on before we wrap it up. We were talking earlier about, I keep saying we were talking earlier, and I don't really want to keep saying. One thing I think that's really good, though, that you guys might know or might not know, is that within the flies that are flying around Curtis's head and mine,
We've been out here all day. It's
we needed to.
tactical groupies coming by, saying hi.
Nice guy, nice guy. Be strong, be of good courage. Get this fly away from me before I blow its head off. Where's that echo trigger? Woo!
Stand for the national anthem, damn it.
Yeah.